We talk so much about what we feed our bodies: healthy food, junk food, clean eating, intuitive eating, balance, nutrition labels. Is gluten bad? Is oat milk actually good for you? All of it. But what we spend a lot less time asking, what are we feeding our minds? Welcome back to Being Human on Purpose. I'm Sara, and I'm really glad you're here. Your mind eats too, but what are we consuming all day long? News, social media, opinions, other people's drama, fear, outrage, inspiration, learning, gossip, beauty, gratitude, complaints, people's energy, music, podcasts. And whether we realize it or not, what we repeatedly consume starts to become something. It becomes our mood, our energy, our beliefs, how we interpret the world, how we react to people we love. So today, we're going to talk about your mental diet. I want to be really clear about something up front. This is not a lecture. This is not me telling you to delete your apps and only read philosophy and eat kale and be positive every waking moment. Honestly, that sounds exhausting and completely unsustainable. This is just an honest conversation about what we let in, why we let it in, and what it might be doing to us without us even noticing. I'm going to use food as a starting point because I think it's the clearest way to explain what I mean. And also because food is something I have a very real, very personal relationship with. I've struggled with my weight since puberty. And what I've learned, slowly, sometimes painfully, is that healthy body isn't built on restriction or perfection. It's built on balance. You cannot survive on kale and sadness. You also cannot thrive on a diet of pure junk food. What actually works? Having your vegetables, getting your protein, and also having room for the things that bring you genuine joy. Because if there's no joy in it, you won't sustain it. And sustainability is everything. And here's what I want you to sit with. Your mind works the same way. A healthy mental diet isn't built on consuming only positivity. That's not balance. That's avoidance wearing a smiley face. The real question is what I'm consuming nourishing me? Does it help me grow, think more clearly, feel more connected to myself and the world around me? Or is it leaving me drained, anxious, bitter, numb, or just stuck? And here's the thing about balance. Even good things can become harmful in excess. Fruit is good for you. Eating nothing but fruit all day long and your blood sugar will tell you otherwise. Cat videos make me happy. 3 hours of cat videos and somehow I've lost an afternoon and feel vaguely empty. Balance matters more than purity. That's true for food. That's true for your mind. Let me get personal for a minute, because I think the most honest version of this episode requires it. There was a significant season in my life where, looking back, I was feeding myself chaos constantly. And here's the thing, it wasn't accidental. It wasn't just bad luck or difficult circumstances. On some level, I was choosing environments, people, patterns, and inputs that matched how I felt on the inside. Because on the inside, there was a lot of chaos. I struggled with depression, and I still do, honestly, in what I describe as a functional way. It's not always loud. It doesn't always shut me down, but it's kind of always there, underlying. And before I understood what that was or what it looked like, I was making a lot of decisions that reflected it. I was in one toxic relationship after another, surrounding myself with people who didn't make me feel great about myself, consuming music and media and situations that kept me in low, heavy, stuck energy. Not because I enjoyed feeling that way, but because it felt familiar. And familiar, even when it hurts, can feel safe. Sometimes we don't consume negativity because we love it. We consume it because it mirrors what we already believe about ourselves. I wanted, and I can say this now with a lot of compassion for that version of me, but I wanted to feel bad. I felt like I didn't deserve to be happy. And so I kept finding ways to confirm that. If that lands for anyone listening right now, I just want you to know you're not broken. You're human. And noticing the pattern is where it starts to change. My shift didn't happen in a single dramatic moment. It happened in my earbuds. Let me explain. I got my first Kindle Fire, I think it was a birthday gift, and I discovered Audible. I'm not someone who can sit down and read a physical book unless I read it straight through. And let's be honest, adulting doesn't leave time for that. But audiobooks, that was my world opening up. One of the first books I listened to was Wishes Fulfilled by Dr. Wayne Dyer. I don't know if I can fully explain what happened when I listened to that book, except to say something in me woke up and everything just made sense. Part of it was his voice, genuinely. It was calming to me in a way that felt almost physical. I talked about Wayne Dyer and what I was learning from him so much my kids used to tease me about it. But beyond that, it was what he was saying. It was the clarity of it, the possibility of it. I grew up in a faith-based household, went to a Christian school, had a framework for the world. But I hadn't fully figured out what I actually believed. And listening to Wayne Dyer started a conversation in me that hasn't really stopped since. That book led to more books, more curiosity, more gratitude, more awareness. It snowballed into what eventually became a whole personal development journey. And honestly, it became the foundation for everything I'm doing now, including this podcast. But here's what I want you to hear in that. Before my life changed on the outside, it changed in my earbuds. I didn't get a new job or move somewhere or meet different people first. I started consuming something different. That changed what I believed was possible. And that changed everything. One nourishing voice can interrupt years of noise. Don't underestimate that. Okay, let's talk about the obvious stuff now, because we're all thinking it. Social media. Now, I want to be nuanced here, because I don't think social media is inherently good or bad. I think it completely depends on what you follow, how long you stay, and most importantly, how it leaves you feeling. There are accounts that inspire me, accounts that teach me something, accounts that make me laugh until I almost pass out from the inability to breathe properly. And then there's content. 20 minutes in leaves me feeling annoyed, inadequate, angry about something I can't control, or just mentally cluttered. But here's the good thing about social media. You don't have to get mad at the content. You don't have to get mad at the person posting it. You just have to notice. Does this align with what I want to feel? If not, you can scroll on. That's it. Scroll on. Now, I don't say that from an ivory tower because there are times when I have chosen not to scroll on. But more often than not, I do. Sometimes after deleting a comment I had intended on posting. Same goes for television. I love Grey's Anatomy. I've watched that show since the very beginning, and I've seen every single episode, many of them more than once. And I'm not stopping. But I've also noticed there are times where, after watching it, I feel heavier, less motivated, like something pulled me down and left me there on the couch, not wanting to move. That doesn't make it a bad show. It makes me someone who pays attention to how things land in me. And that attention matters. Music does it too. News does it. Podcasts. Yes, including this one. They all do it. And then there's the one we don't talk about enough. People. People are part of your mental diet too. Some people fill your cup. Some people empty it in under 7 minutes. And it's worth being honest about which is which. Not so you can cut everyone off, but so you can make intentional choices about your energy. I have people in my life who drain me. I also see the value they bring in other ways. So I manage the dosage. I'm not always available. I create some boundaries around how much time and energy I give because I need to protect what I have. Choosing your inputs thoughtfully isn't selfish. It's responsible. And here's the part nobody talks about because it doesn't fit neatly into the self-help narrative. Sometimes you know exactly what you're doing and you do it anyway. You know the doom scrolling at midnight is going to make the anxiety worse. You do it anyway. You know the sad playlist is going to keep you stuck. You put it on anyway. You know the person is going to drain you, but you answer the phone anyway. That doesn't make you a failure at your mental diet. That makes you human. I'll go back to the food analogy here because it tracks so cleanly. You know what you should eat. You've known for years, and sometimes you still eat the thing. Not because you're weak, but because your pull toward the familiar is powerful. Because sometimes comfort and nourishment are not the same thing. And in a tired or hurting moment, comfort wins. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is awareness. Noticing when you're in the junk food loop without beating yourself up about it, and kindly and gently asking, okay, what do I actually need right now? Because shame about your mental diet is also a form of mental junk food. It doesn't help. It just adds another layer of noise. So what does healthy nourishment actually look like? Well, for me, and let me be clear, this is mine, not a prescription. But for me, it looks like this. Nature. Seriously, something happens in me when I slow down and step outside. When I actually look at the world around me instead of rushing through it. It recalibrates something. I can't fully explain it, but I trust it. Listening to the birds, watching a bee go from flower to flower, feeling the sun on my skin, breathing a lung full of fresh air. Books, or audiobooks, you know what I mean. But books that stretch my thinking, content that challenges me gently, podcasts that make me feel less alone in being human, conversations where something real gets said, where someone walks away feeling seen. That nourishes me deeply. And interestingly, it nourishes me because I'm giving it, not just receiving it. Which brings me to something else. Nourishment is not only about what comes in. Some things feed us because we receive them, but some things feed us because we become them. Creating this podcast feeds me. Helping someone have an aha moment feeds me. It almost feels selfish to be selfless because of what it gives me back. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's what it looks like when you're living in alignment with something real. Gratitude is part of it too. And I want to spend a little more time here because I think gratitude is one of the most misunderstood forms of nourishment there is. I think a lot of people have rejected gratitude, and honestly, fair enough because of the way it gets sold. Toxic positivity says good vibes only. Don't talk about the hard stuff. Slap a gratitude journal on top of your pain and call it healing. That's not gratitude. That's decoration. And it doesn't work because the hard stuff is still underneath it. Just now it also comes with a side of shame and for not feeling positive enough. Real gratitude doesn't ask you to pretend things aren't hard. It asks you to look at what's hard and also notice what's true at the same time. Over the last few weeks, I've had some significant family health situations happening simultaneously. Multiple people I love needing care at the same time. It's been a lot. At times, it's been exhausting. And there were moments that were genuinely scary. And the whole time, almost like a constant quiet current underneath everything, I kept coming back to gratitude. Not because the situation wasn't hard. It was. Not because I was performing okayness for everyone. I wasn't. But because I kept noticing what was also true. That I was able to be there. That I had reliable transportation. That I had a flexible work schedule and an understanding boss. That I had family who showed up on short notice so I could be where I needed to be. That the people I loved had good care, good surgeons, good outcomes. The hard things and the grateful things existed at the same time. Both were real. And choosing to keep returning to the grateful things, not instead of the hard ones, but alongside them, kept me out of panic, kept me present, kept me clear enough to actually be useful to the people who needed me. My body still held the bill. When it was finally safe to come down from it all, I felt it. Stomach issues, exhaustion, that particular kind of tired that lives in your bones. The nervous system doesn't forget. But I genuinely believe it would have been so much worse if I'd spent those weeks in a state of fear instead of a state of gratitude. The piece I want you to remember here is gratitude kept me connected to what was real, which was that even in the middle of something hard, there was love and support and things working out. That's not toxic positivity. That's not bypassing. That's a practiced skill. And it is a skill, one that gets easier the more you use it, and harder to access the less you've been feeding yourself things that support it. Which is exactly why your mental diet matters. Not just for the ordinary days, for the hard ones too. And if you're someone who hears all of that and thinks, okay, great, but when something hard is happening, I just spiral. I don't know how to do that. Here's the most honest, least complicated thing I can offer you. Breathe. I know, it sounds like a bumper sticker. But here's why it's not. A few slow, intentional breaths actually do something to your nervous system. They interrupt the spiral physiologically. It's not woo-woo. It's just how the body works. And then, if you can, find some quiet. Or find the kind of sound that doesn't demand your attention. For me, that's instrumental music. The Harry Potter soundtrack on repeat. Lo-fi, Mozart. Something that creates a container without pulling my brain somewhere else. And if at all possible, get outside, even for 5 minutes. Those aren't complicated practices. They're inputs. They're things that you deliberately feed yourself in a hard moment to change what's happening on the inside. Your mental diet, working in real time, under pressure. The hard part isn't knowing these things. The hard part is remembering to reach for them when everything in you wants to spiral. Which is why building the habit on ordinary days matters. So it's there when you actually need it. If you walk away from this episode wanting to do one thing, just one, here's what I'd suggest. Start noticing how things leave you feeling. not in a complicated overthinking way. Just after I consumed that, the news, the conversation, the show, that hour on your phone, how do I feel? Energized? Drained? Lighter? Heavier? Clearer? More anxious? Your body often knows your mental diet before your mind admits it. And 2 specific checkpoints I'd invite you to pay attention to this week. How are you going to bed at night? Are you rehearsing everything that went wrong, dreading tomorrow, running through your to-do list with a sense of foreboding? Or are you landing softly, even imperfectly, with something you're looking forward to? And then, how are you waking up? Is it dread? Is it neutrality? Is it, even occasionally, something that feels like possibility? Those 2 bookends of the day are pretty honest reflections of what you've been feeding yourself. Don't judge it, just notice it. Awareness before change, always. Here's the truth I want to leave you with, though. You can't fix something you don't realize is off. And sometimes what feels like being broken, the anxiety, the heaviness, the disconnection, the low-grade sense that something isn't right, is actually just being overfed on chaos and underfed on what restores you. That's not a flaw, that's information. So this week, before you overhaul anything, just notice. Notice what drains you. Notice what fills you. Notice what helps you feel a little more like yourself. Because when our minds are consuming a healthy balance of knowledge, beauty, truth, curiosity, and connection, that changes how we show up in the world. And that is being human on purpose. Thanks for listening in this week. If you enjoyed this episode of Being Human on Purpose, do me a favor and hit subscribe from whatever platform you met me on today. And then share it with another human. Or 3. Until next time, be a little more human, a little more on purpose. All my love.